grown exponentially, and an increase in population necessarily results in an increase of
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Well, good afternoon to you and welcome into Fox 35 News Plus. I'm Garrett Wymer and thanks for joining us on this Monday afternoon, live on Fox Local, fox35orlando.com, and also on YouTube. It is 4 o'clock, and that means it's time for today's Top 4 at 4, where we break down 4 of the big stories that we're keeping an eye on in the Fox 35 newsroom today. And joining us for today's Top 4 at 4 is Fox 35 News anchor and reporter Marlisa Goldsmith. And Marlisa, we appreciate you joining us today.
Happy to be here, Garrett.
So the first story kind of developing this afternoon, and this seems like a pretty big earthquake shaking Southern California.
Yeah, we're talking about a 5.2 magnitude earthquake rattling Southern California this morning. It struck in San Diego County, but the jolt was felt, as you can imagine, across Southern California. Our sister station, in fact, was in the middle of broadcasting Good Day LA when they say they felt it. There was some video that they posted from that broadcast. You could see that the anchors were pointing out the lights shaking there. They were getting alerts to their phone during that time period. I think that kind of caught them off guard because it was real time that they were receiving the alerts and then finally feeling it. But the U.S. Geological Survey team said that the earthquake had an epicenter in San Diego County near Julian. And yeah, this was a pretty big earthquake. And I don't know about you. I've never been in the middle of
I was just going to ask you if you had.
Never felt one
I haven't
before.
either. I haven't either. It seems like the thing that I think kind of like scares me about it, having never been through one, is like there's nothing you can do to get away from it. And I guess you could also say the same of tornadoes and hurricanes, but you can kind of shelter, or for a hurricane, you can, for a tornado, you can shelter. For a hurricane, you could evacuate if you needed to. But an earthquake, it comes kind of literally out of nowhere. And then, like, what do? You go into the basement, it doesn't help. You go outside, that doesn't help.
It's one of those mysteries that it's like, as someone who's never experienced it, you kind of want to know what it feels like, but then you're kind of like, I'm kind of glad I've never.
Yeah, I'll let you go ahead and experience and just report back. So
what's funny is I'm from Maryland, and Maryland received an earthquake some years ago, and I was not living there at the time, so I missed the one and only opportunity
that was
I
your
had.
Chance.
I don't know if you remember, there were memes all over the place of people making fun of the residents of Maryland who were making it a big deal and being overly dramatic about the situation. But for people who never experienced it,
right, that's
I'm
the
sure
thing.
It doesn't take much.
Because Southern California, they expect it.
Right.
They have minor ones from time to time. But yeah, for folks who aren't used to that, it is a big deal. Yeah. And so, but yeah, thankfully, I don't think there's been any reports of
no reports.
Injuries, major damage, that kind of thing. So that's certainly good news in all this as well. Well, here in Florida today, big news between the state attorney general and the state attorney for Orange and Osceola counties. This has kind of been simmering for a little bit, but a couple of news conferences today with some pretty big details.
Yeah, we're trying our best to keep up with all of the news conferences and all of the developments. If you all have been keeping tabs on this story, this has been a long-standing battle between the AG's office and state attorney Monique Worrell. At a press conference this morning, actually, the Florida Attorney General, James Uthmeier, is now sending a team. He announced that he's now sending a team of prosecutors to help out State Attorney Worrell tackle a backlog of 13,500 cases. Now, this comes, you may remember, after State Attorney Worrell said earlier this month that her office would no longer accept law enforcement cases for prosecution that do not include an arrest or cases that have not already entered the court system, which essentially challenges officers, deputies, and detectives to build better cases before them being submitted to her office. Now, in turn, officials complained about Worrell's alleged implementation of this quote-unquote soft on crime policy, saying that it restricts law enforcement from referring certain non-arrest cases to her office, including some involving gun crimes and violent felonies. So it looks like this is only the latest development in an effort really to try to help fill the need. So there have been 6 prosecutors from the Office of Statewide Prosecution announced who will be supporting the Office of the State Attorney for this 9th Judicial Circuit. But Governor Ron DeSantis, he was previously removed Worrell from her position. He had plenty to say about this move.
Respect to Monique Worrell, as you recall, I suspended her from office because she was not enforcing the laws as they are written on the book. She had her own agenda, and that was putting the people of Central Florida at risk. I think what happened was she was able to delay this and never went in front of the Florida Senate, where I think they would have found her guilty and removed her permanently. And so she was able to kind of manipulate that. Obviously, it's a very Democrat area, so when you run as a Dem here, you have an advantage. But I will say this. You have a responsibility to faithfully execute the laws of the state of Florida. You do not have the ability to pick and choose which laws you're going to enforce. You don't have the ability or the authority to let the inmates run the asylum. So I know the Attorney General is keeping a close eye on what she's doing. That could end up on my desk if there's proof that somebody is neglecting their duties or satisfying one of the other provisions of the Florida Constitution. Then obviously I could act again.
And so it was an offer of help, as the Attorney General said this morning, but also coming with a very clear warning from not only the Attorney General, but also the governor, that they are watching this situation closely. And clearly, Governor DeSantis would not hesitate to take action again if he felt like he needed to, based on what he said today.
And they've been very outspoken over the past, what year are we in? A couple of years that I've been covering this story since, I first began reporting here in Central Florida, and they've been very outspoken. They do not mince any words. But, Monique Worrell, or excuse me, State Attorney Monique Worrell has also been outspoken about, her position and her stance. And she has been very vocal about saying that she is here to do a job and she's doing it to the best of her ability, but she still needs resources. And this, sadly, is not just a case that Orange and Osceola counties are facing when it comes to these backlogs and getting behind on work. This is not just a Florida problem, a nationwide problem that a lot of these offices are facing.
And one of the things today she was saying is that she is going to speak with she spoke today with a statewide prosecutor, and they're going to meet to discuss a way to be able to implement the help from the team of attorneys that's coming in. But she said she is going to continue to advocate for permanent solutions, because she said this is a temporary fix. It may help the backlog they have now, but as soon as that team leaves, there's going to be one that continues to build up. Here's a little bit more of what she said about that.
Unfortunately, what the Attorney General has offered is another temporary fix to the situation. The statewide prosecutor's office has a long history of providing support to local jurisdictions and providing additional prosecutors. And of course, having them come to our office is welcomed. We can certainly utilize the help so that we can work as quickly as possible to get through the backlog of cases. And after we've done so, I will continue to advocate for additional permanent resources, because once that temporary support is no longer here, we can expect that backlog to creep up again. As I stated in my letter to the Attorney General, this reality has far more to do with flat funding, while our population has grown exponentially.
So we'll continue to watch the situation. Obviously, things are not over yet, but it has been interesting to see the back and forth continuing again today with this latest development.
Yeah, absolutely.
Story number 3 today, and this is an update in this frightening case out of Orange County, this alleged kidnapping, but an arrest has been made.
An arrest has been made. This had a lot of customers at the Walmart where this happened over the weekend. Very alarmed, a bit concerned. We spoke with a woman who lives nearby, and she's like, I walk here. I would never imagine something like this would happen. But here's the latest. A man is now in custody after allegedly abducting his child and the child's mother from a Walmart in Orange County. This happened at the Walmart on North Cimarron Boulevard. Now, according to the Orange County Sheriff's Office, 30-year-old Mackenzie St. Hilaire was arrested on charges of attempted murder, aggravated assault with a firearm, and kidnapping. There's a picture of that suspect right there. Authorities reported that the woman and her child were unharmed and were released by Hilaire on Saturday afternoon. Authorities also confirmed this was, in fact, a domestic incident, so there was no threat to the community, which I'm sure provided a little bit of relief for people who were on edge after this happened.
Because I think that was certainly the concern. Because it happened in the middle of the day. The sun was out,
Right.
and obviously a lot of questions and frightening to think that it may have been something random. We now know it wasn't, but still a frightening situation there. But big news with an arrest now being made, a suspect being behind bars in connection with that. And finally today, history made on the edge of space.
Okay, can I just say who run the world?
Can
I say that?
I think it's fair.
Would you like to finish it?
I'll let you finish it. You
girls, okay? Hello, women. We are taking charge. I love it. Blue Origin, they launched their all-female flight this morning. Pop star Katy Perry, TV journalist Gayle King, 3 other women joined Jeff Bezos' fiance, Lauren Sanchez, on this all-female flight to space. It was just a 10-minute flight launched from West Texas, but you can imagine this is probably one of the most memorable 10 minutes that all of these women will guarantee to go down in history, and they'll remember forever, not just them, all of their friends, all of their family, all the spectators who were there watching. This team worked closely with a clothing brand also to design the women's custom spacesuits, because as we know, it's mostly been men, right? And so the world has revolved around you all for so long, but they got to customize their own spacesuits, which were fabulous, by the way. And this launch brought all the VIPs you can imagine out. Of course, Gayle King's famous friend, Oprah Winfrey. They've been friends for nearly 50 years now. Kris Jenner and all of her family, and several other women who have previously flown on private flights as well. As you can imagine, this has been a very emotional experience for these women. Gayle King previously spoke about how terrified she was.
Yes.
But she knew. Oprah told her, you have to do it, because if you don't, you're going to look back and have all the regret in the world if you don't.
That's the thing that I think, because she said she's afraid to just fly on an airplane.
A domestic flight.
Yeah, and so I think that's really cool that she took advantage of the chance to do it, because Oprah's probably right. I mean, at some point she would regret it. You don't want to let those fears kind of make that decision for you. And so I think that's really cool that she kind of overcame that, even though she was afraid, and did that, because that's really a unique opportunity and something really cool to be a part of.
Yeah, it is. And she spoke later today saying that, she told her there will be other flights to come that, you can hop on later, but for this to be the first all-female, you can't beat that.
That is really cool.
You've been invited. Just go. So I know that they had a news conference after they returned this afternoon.
Yeah, and Lauren, one thing, Lauren Sanchez was talking about wanting to make flights like these more accessible.
Well, I always revert back to the barnstorming era. And I don't know if you guys remember, that's when the Wright brothers first started flight. I mean, they never envisioned at that time that there would be 747s taking hundreds of people across the country. And so, yes, I think one of Blue's missions is to have that happen. Their other mission is for the benefit of Earth. They want to put all of heavy industry on Earth, and it may seem fantastical now in space. Sorry, I'm still coming down from this. Yes, put of all heavy industry in space, and it may seem really fantastical now, but I know Jeff. And I know Blue Origin, and we might not see it in this generation, but their kids and their kids will eventually have that. So Blue Origin is building the road to space so that your kids and their kids can build the future.
Yeah, kind of neat to think about. I know. And something that I think we get closer every time there is one of these launches, because here this launch was in Texas, but we know so many of these are happening right here in Florida, so we pay pretty close attention to it know the competition between all these different private companies that are doing what they can to kind of make it more affordable, make it more accessible, and we've certainly seen the frequency, for lack of a better term, skyrocket. And so it's kind of an exciting future to think about.
It is, and I think just going back to Gayle King and her saying how scared and terrified she was, it brings it almost makes it more real, because it's like any of us probably would be scared. I would be. I have
yeah.
no problem flying, but I would be terrified if they came to me and said, Marlisa, you've got the opportunity of a lifetime. Jump on board.
Would you do it?
I don't know. It would take a lot of
You would need Oprah to
discussions.
call you and say,
need
don't
my
be
girl Oprah to call me
don't be
up
afraid.
and say, you better go. Yes, I need her. It's going to take a lot of prayer, a lot of conversations with my family, making sure that, all my ducks are in a row. But I don't know. After seeing this, I feel like the more that we see, the more confidence I will have in it to say, if the opportunity ever presented itself, I probably would. But I probably would be in the same boat. I would be so scared to be one of the first.
Which I think is only natural.
Yes.
I think is only natural. Well, that is today's Top Forward for Marlisa. We appreciate you joining us.
Of course.
We're going to take a break here on Fox 35 News Plus, but we'll be right back.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Fox 35 Storm Team meteorologist TJ Springer joins me now. And TJ, just another beautiful day out there. I'm looking at those pictures behind you. It's like you got 4 postcards right there.
Hi, Garrett. Yeah, it's picture perfect. I feel like after a gorgeous weekend, it's just continuing, which is great. Hopefully the Monday didn't feel quite as bad because of how nice it is outside.
Yeah, it definitely helps ease you back in. You don't have the what is it called, the Monday doldrums as much.
Yeah, but then it's back because we just want to be outside and not
That is
working,
true.
even though we're so happy to be on Fox Local.
Always. Yeah, you better be. Good answer, TJ.
Yeah, no, it is really nice out there. High pressure still driving our weather pattern, Garrett, and that's going to be the trend as we head through the remainder of our Monday. We can see the bright blue sky from the beaches to the Space Coast, downtown Orlando, really all across the board here in Central Florida. We are basking in the sunshine, and we're going to continue to see that here as high pressure is still influencing our weather pattern. But notice, to our northwest, there is a cold front. Now, this one we're watching as we head throughout our Tuesday night. Not expected to be a big impact weather maker for us, but still it looks like it will try to knock our temperatures back just a touch. Maybe you noticed a tinge more mugginess in the air. Dew points are still really nice, especially for Florida. We know it could be so much worse, but we do have that southerly breeze that has helped our temperatures rise a bit more compared to where they were this time yesterday. We can see many spots, including DeLand and Sanford, Palm Coast, nearly 10 degrees warmer now compared to this time on our Sunday. We've had the bright blue sky and the comfiness, but now we've noticed that spike in our temperatures. We're in the upper 80s in Claremont, 85 in the Villages. Still feels pretty good along the coast. New Smyrna, Cocoa Beach, Melbourne, all in the upper 70s. Closer to the water, helping that just a little bit. But inland, it is certainly a warmer and an above average day at that. Tonight, we're back down into the 50s, the help of the starry sky allowing our temperatures to fall once again. We'll be close to where we should be, though, for this time of the year. Some of our northwestern neighborhoods like the Villages, Gainesville, Ocala, maybe a windbreaker tomorrow morning before temperatures rise nicely back into the 80s. And you can see mid to upper 80s yet again. Just a little more cloud cover, not a lot, but ahead of that front, I think we'll see a few more of those developing, especially during our Tuesday afternoon. If you are getting out to the theme parks, maybe a Universal Orlando day planned, 70s by later in the afternoon, and then we're jumping back up into the 80s. So overall, it's going to be a pleasant day, just a day where you really need the sunscreen and the ball cap. Here's that cold front. This is our Fox model. This is tomorrow morning. We've paused it there. We can see some showers off to our north and west, but notice there's not a lot of rain with this at all. It's a moisture-starved frontal boundary, just a little bit of cloud cover as we head through our Tuesday afternoon. No issues for the evening drive around Orlando. This is 11 o'clock, and we're seeing just a couple of sprinkles trying to pop up as this front swings through Central Florida, but it's a quick mover. It's out of here by the time we awaken on our Wednesday morning, and we can see that wind coming back in from the north to northwest. That will help our temperatures drop just a little bit as we head through midweek. But sadly, we're not getting the rain that we sorely need. As we head through the April 20th to 24th time frame, we have a 50-50 shot of being above normal on our precip or below. But you can see to our northwest, the shades of green. That means there's higher chances for being above normal in precipitation there. So hopefully this trend continues as we might be able to get into a more active weather pattern as a whole and get some rain here into Central Florida. And that looks to continue. This is an update. April 22nd to the 28th, we're now seeing the green getting into Central Florida. We weren't seeing that a couple of days ago. So this is some good news that hopefully we can at least get into some rainier conditions to hopefully alleviate that drought little by little, because we've now gotten into a severe drought across a good bit of Central Florida. So that's something we'll be watching closely over the next few weeks. Now, as we head through the remainder of our Fox 35 Storm Team 7-day forecast, notice that little drop back into the lower 80s Wednesday, lots of sun. Thursday and Friday, we start to warm right back up above normal, middle 80s on Friday, and then we're back close to 90 degrees on Saturday and Sunday. So that's what we'll be watching. Looks like some really good beach days, Garrett, and great days to be out at the parks. But it is certainly going to be steamier later in the weekend.
You do you have some parks plans already, TJ, with that forecast?
When do we not? We actually tried. We had not been to Aquatica. We actually gave that a try, Garrett, on Saturday. It was great. It was bright and sunny. It was packed. I can only imagine the water parks were a hot spot to be over the last couple of days.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And I'm sure only going to pick up, especially with the forecast like that.
Yeah, if anyone's visiting, I feel like it's a picture-perfect week for anything outdoors.
All right, that sounds good. We will make the most of that. Fox 35 Storm Team meteorologist TJ Springer, we appreciate you joining us.
Thanks, Garrett.
We're going to take a break, and we'll be right back.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
A live look at Epic Universe. This is Stardust Racers that you can see right there, the roller coaster at Epic Universe that opens May 22nd. We're just talking about the theme parks with Fox 35 Storm Team meteorologist TJ Springer just a minute ago. A beautiful week to go out to the theme parks, check them out. We know it was also a busy weekend at the theme parks in our area. Some big debuts of a couple things, including the Volcano Bay Nights debut event at Universal's Volcano Bay Water Park, and then also some new otter pups debuting at the Animal Kingdom. And this afternoon, I had the chance to speak with Theron White, the lead publisher of EYNTK.info, about these two new debuts. All right, Theron, talk to us about these otter pups that debuted over the weekend at Animal Kingdom.
Yeah, so Disney's Animal Kingdom yet again has some adorable new creatures. These are going to be Asian small-clawed otters. You can specifically see them at Disney's Animal Kingdom Park inside of the otter exhibit that's right near the Tree of Life. These are actually the first baby otters that have appeared at Disney's Animal Kingdom since 2018. So it's been a long time, and they have some very cute names. We've got Butternut, Biscuit, and Potato. And I mean, otters are already adorable, but to see a smaller baby version, that's such a great addition to the park.
Oh my gosh, they really are adorable, though. I love seeing them, and they're just fun. They're just fun creatures to watch.
Absolutely. And the area they're in, this isn't really related to this, but I always think it's one of my favorite Disney puns. The section that they're in is an otter habitat, and it's sponsored by OtterBox. So it's an OtterBox presented by OtterBox, and that has always been one of my favorite of the Disney puns that they have there. Whether it was a sponsorship's idea or Disney's idea, it doesn't matter. I think that's so funny. If you haven't seen the otters, you can see them from above, or you can actually go under and you're kind of in a like a shaded space. It's great if you're trying to get away from some of the heat, and you're right face to face with the otters because you're actually going to be level with the water. So there's a lot of viewing opportunities to be able to see them as well. It's not just a small exhibit. You can walk all around it.
A pretty cool vantage point for that. And like you said, beating the heat, that's certainly something that's becoming more and more important. And speaking of beating the heat, Theron, Volcano Bay Nights, that we talked with you last week about that. That debuted over the weekend, and you had the chance to check it out.
Yeah, I had to go. I'm a huge fan of Volcano Bay. I love water parks in general, but this is one of, if not my favorite water park in all of the United States. And I had to see it at night. They originally, when it came out, they were doing testing at night. We never got to see it. It was on very rare chances when the park would just happen to be open around sunset, but this was dedicated at night. So the event is $99. It's only going to happen for very select days. But if you go to the park, you're going to get there for the early admission as of 4 p.m. and you can stay all the way until 10 p.m. For the opening night, it was a little bit chilly, which could have been part of the reason why, but no one was there. And I really hope that that's part of the plan. They had said that it's a limited capacity event, and it was fantastic. Normally, Universal Volcano Bay gives you these things called Tapu Tapus. They're like a smartwatch, basically, that you wear on your wrist, and that helps them keep the lines down because it tells you, hey, now you can go to this ride or another. You didn't need it for this at all. All of the slides that I went on, it was a walk-on. I'm talking 30 seconds. Sometimes you'd get off a ride, and they'd be like, you're the very next person. You can just jump on again. Some of the body slides had maybe a 5 or a 10-minute wait, if that. But I mean, the park was borderline empty. It felt like it was maybe at 10% capacity. I was going around, I was having a fantastic time, and the park is simply gorgeous at night.
And I think you said this is $99?
That is correct. So normal admission to get into Volcano Bay is about $80 and go a little higher on other days. But this one specifically is $99 across the board for any of the days you're going to pick. But they do offer pass holder discounts. Now, it's only going to be for a limited the number of days. So one more time in April on the 26th, and then May is going to have it on May 3rd, May 10th, and May 17th. And that's it right now. All of the team members inside of the park had very custom shirts on that specifically said Volcano Bay Nights. That makes me confident that this is going to be something they're going to offer in the future because that was a lot of outfits to buy just for like a 5-night event. So I think this is a testing phase and hopefully something we can see happen more and more often.
Is it worth that cost?
So to me, it was worth the $99. If you're someone that's an annual pass holder and you already have a Volcano Bay entry, then probably not. But if you're someone, the way that I would describe this best is if you're someone that loves water parks and you hate people. If that's for you, then I think, yes, it was worth the price. I have a Universal annual pass, but I don't have the Volcano Bay option, and so I don't get to go there all the time. So for a singular visit to go there and do every single ride that I wanted to do and just fly onto it, The Krakatoa water coaster is by far their most popular attraction, and it can hold a 2 or 3 hour wait. With the Tapu Tapu bands that you have, you don't really wait that. You kind of get in a virtual wait and come back. But still, a lot of people only get to do it once or twice a day. I did it 4 separate times, and once I got off of it, and they literally had me get off, jump back in with 3 other people, and then jump right back onto the ride. So for people that want to go and just hit ride after ride, and you do get some free limited snacks, and of course the entertainment out on the beach, there's a lot of options, and there was stuff that you could do really, really quick, and there was nobody there.
Hard to beat that. Getting right off the ride and then getting right back on, that doesn't happen very often.
Absolutely. And one of the parts I also have to mention, because of the entertainment, Shrek and Fiona do a dance party out on the beach, and that is one of the funniest things you could ever watch. I didn't realize that they were going to be there. They had said DreamWorks characters, but as I was walking through the park, there goes Shrek and Fiona, and I was like, I have to follow and see where they go. And they're just on the beach dancing to like popular music, and that is hilarious. There's also photo ops that you can do with some of the other DreamWorks characters, but specifically Shrek and Fiona on the beach was just, it's hilarious. And kids and adults alike were having a ton of fun with them.
We're going to take a break here on Fox 35 News Plus, but we'll be right back.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. I'm Garrett Wymer, and thanks for joining us on this Monday afternoon, live on Fox Local and on YouTube. We know some families in Mount Dora have questions about what has happened to memorial benches in the city. Joining us live now via Zoom to talk about that is Fox 35's Randy Hildreth. And Randy, you were able to get some answers about the situation here. What's been going on?
So, for context for people, you are probably very familiar with memorial benches. When you're walking downtown, you may see a bench located in an area, and often it has a plaque on there that says who it's in honor of. So when we talk about memorial benches, that's what I'm referencing. And so I spoke with a family today who has had a memorial bench in place in downtown Mount Dora for years. Their loved one, Joey Cosson, was killed while he was in college back in 1997. A suspect showed up to a party where he was and with a gun, and Joey was trying to be the peacemaker. And in that interaction, the suspect shot and killed Joey. And so his mom, his family, loved ones raised money to put a memorial bench in downtown Mount Dora as a place where they can come celebrate his birthday, his heavenly birthday. And also for context with this story, Joey is buried in Chicago, next to his dad. So this is very special for the family because this is the closest thing they have as a place to go gather that is symbolic of Joey. So it's been in place for years. The family was walking downtown on Friday and noticed that the bench was not there, had not been notified, according to the family, by the city of Mount Dora. And, kind of paused, looked around like, where is the bench that has been here for years? And so between Friday and today, they have made multiple phone calls, emails to the city to try to find out what happened to the bench, what is going on. Fast forward to today, the bench is now back. The family says it's not the same bench, and the plaque on the bench is back honoring Joey, but they are happy that the bench is back, but not okay with how the city handled this situation. And so, as you mentioned, we reached out to the city to try to dig into what's going on, what happened, because also when you look downtown, there are slabs where benches used to be, and there are not benches there anymore. And so the way the city explained it to us, there was a new formal policy adopted back in 2019 to streamline this memorial bench program. A couple elements to it. One, if a bench has reached its life expectancy, its lifespan, if it's just not safe anymore, then the bench will be removed. There's also a clause in that policy that after 10 years, a bench sponsor, so like this family, for example, Joey's family that bought this bench and paid the city for it, they have to renew their contract with the city, or the city could decide that the bench would go and potentially someone else can purchase a bench to go in that spot for their friend or their family member. And the city will try to contact the family if the number is on file. But the city also did mention that families like Joey's family purchased this bench 20, 30 years ago, and there are no records, there's no information on file, so they can't contact them. They will try to hold on to the plaque that has their loved one's name, but that's kind of it. And the family was not happy about that. They say, one, is 2025. There are so many ways to get in contact with people about their loved one's bench, especially if the name is on the bench. And so that's kind of the family's perspective and what we got in terms of digging into the city policy around this memorial bench program.
If this policy has been in place since 2019, then why is it just now that we're seeing so many of these benches kind of disappear?
And that's a good question. And it's a question that worked to get answers to. And it's not exactly clear why all of a sudden. I did get a chance to speak with the mayor today, and he said he didn't even realize that this was a policy on the books. I asked him, well, are the benches being, clean? Or is it a safety hazard? Are we going through a process in the city where we are removing older benches and replacing them with metal benches? Because the family says that at one point that is something that they were told, and the mayor says he did not have any information about a bench replacement program that's going on. He said he also wasn't aware of this 10-year policy. And I did, look it up. This policy went into effect in 2019. He just became mayor in 2024. So he may not have known about the policy, but he did say to us that the way that this has been handled is something that he also doesn't agree with. And so tomorrow at the city council meeting, he plans to bring up, he put it on the agenda today, left our interview, said, I'm putting this on the agenda, came and spoke with the family that I interviewed today and said, we have got to talk about this. I, again, was not aware about a bench reclamation program, was not aware of this 10-year policy, but says that the way that the city is handling this is in a way that's pretty insensitive to people. He said, for example, I just had a friend who purchased a bench in downtown recently in honor of his mom. And, you imagine you go to your loved one's memorial or their gravesite and it's not there anymore. And he says what families are feeling right now is appropriate emotions, outrage, grief. The mom I spoke to says it brought back all of the grief that, she may try to suppress on a day-to-day basis in the loss of her son. But she says, when I didn't see that bench, I immediately went back to that moment of, getting that phone call that my loved one has passed away or was killed in this situation. So the mayor also trying to get to the bottom of what prompted all of this, but in a sense was happy that this came up so that they can address it.
This family that you spoke with, how do they feel about this policy? Obviously, we know they don't like the way their situation was handled and not communicated. Going forward, maybe potentially every 10 years having to kind of re-sponsor the bench. How do they feel about that policy?
So, and we had to get some clarification about this because at some point during their conversations, and I don't believe it was with the mayor, because the mayor came out to speak with them and wasn't with the public information officer. At one point, they were told that they would have to pay over $3,000 to repurchase a bench. I've since been told by the city that none of the families will have to do that. And when I was talking to the family, have been back and forth as we've been getting more nuggets of information. They said, one, we weren't going to do that. We purchased our original bench, and our expectation from the city is that we bought this. It's going to stay here. So they're not okay with some of the language that's in this policy that, I did this for my loved one. This is the place that I go to honor them, and almost having to jump through hoops to continue to have a space to honor my loved one.
Well, it's really interesting situation here. Randy, we appreciate you, being able to get to the bottom and get some answers to that, and certainly sounds like something that we will continue to follow with it now being on the radar of the mayor there. So Fox 35's Randy Hildreth, we appreciate you joining us and appreciate you looking into it.
Thank you.
We're going to take a break here on Fox 35 News Plus, but we'll be right back after this.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. I'm Garrett Wymer, and thanks for joining us on this Monday afternoon, live on Fox Local and on YouTube. We are continuing to track this dispute and a little bit of drama even between the state attorney general and the state attorney for the 9th Judicial Circuit, that is Orange and Osceola counties here in Central Florida, where State Attorney Monique Worrell, who had previously been removed from office by the governor for failing to enforce and prosecute cases that the governor believed she needed to, is now in a little bit of trouble again. And we know the Attorney General watching her policies, her office very closely after she announced her plans to refuse many non-arrest cases because of a backlog of 13,000 of them, she said, in her office. As we talked about with Marlisa a little bit ago, The Attorney General today announcing a team of prosecutors going into her office, if she will accept them, and it sounds like she will, to help clear that backlog of those cases. But the Attorney General, the governor, watching this very closely to see what happens from here. I want to play for you a little bit of the state attorney, Monique Worrell, speaking at a news conference at her office in Orlando just a little bit ago, where she responded to that offer from the Attorney General to provide more prosecutors, and also responding to the warning that she is being watched closely when it comes to these non-prosecutions of these non-arrest cases. And she kind of laid out a little bit of her rationale and talked a little bit more about their process.
During my first administration, or what we've affectionately referred to as 1.0, I put in place staff to work solely on reviewing those non-arrest cases. And under the interim administration with the appointed state attorney, the staff was either released or reassigned. And at the end of 2024, there were 12,118 non-arrest cases that had come in. So I just want to reiterate for all of those who have heard differently and for those who are saying differently, this is not a Monique Worrell problem. This, in fact, is a problem that dates back to at least 2013, where, as WFTV reported at that time, Jeff Ashton was discussing non-arrest cases that he inherited when he took office. And his solution to many of those cases was to drop those cases. And we have worked diligently to ensure that we don't have to drop cases because we don't have the manpower, but rather that we get the manpower that's needed to adequately service the people of the Ninth Judicial Circuit. I know it's a good political talking point to try to make this about me, and some continue to try to do so, but this community deserves better than that. They deserve more than politics. They deserve results, and that's exactly what I will continue to advocate for. Now, I have some numbers that I want to review with you, And I'm also going to have one of my investigators, my deputy chief investigator, Dave Ahman, come up and talk to you about some of the non-arrest cases that we've received so that you can have some more concrete examples. It's something that I didn't do before, but I want you to receive these concrete examples so that you can have an idea of, when I say non-arrest cases, what I'm talking about, because it's very important for the public to understand that. All right, so on the screen behind me, you'll see, and I'm highlighting the last several administrations so that you can see what the numbers were under each administration, so that you can have an idea of how this is relative and also how it's not simply isolated to my administration. So in 2012, that was the last year of Lawson Lamar's administration. He received 13,459 non-arrest cases. I'll move to the side so that I'm not blocking your shot. All right, and in 2016, under the last year of Jeff Ashton's administration, there were 13,110 non-arrest cases. In 2020, under the last year of Ms. Ayala's administration, there were 12,660 non-arrest cases. But what's important to note with that is that it was also the COVID year, so all of the numbers of cases filed that year were down. In 2022, the last full year of my first administration, the number was 13,512 non-arrest cases. And in 2024, the last year of the appointed state attorney's administration, it was 13,459. So you'll see that the number of non-arrest cases that's received is relatively the same, no matter who's sitting in the seat. And that's really important, again, because when people try to make this a Monique issue, the numbers say something different. So I'm going to preempt your question, which may be, well, it wasn't a problem for any of these other state attorneys. Why is it a problem for you? Well, the answer is it was a problem for each of these state attorneys, and each state attorney has employed different tactics that they use to try to address the problem. All of those policies that they implemented were only temporary fixes to the problem. What I'm advocating now is for a permanent fix to this problem. that several other administrations have tried to find but have not yet been able to do so. I want to talk to you a little bit about where the non-arrest cases come from, the majority of non-arrest cases come from. Orange County Sheriff's Office and the Orlando Police Department are our two major law enforcement agencies in this community. And in 2023, from Orlando Police Department, we received 1,475 non-arrest cases, in comparison to the Orange County Sheriff's Office, from which we received 4,915 non-arrest cases. In 2024, the number from Orlando Police Department was 1,712, in comparison to the 5,789 received from the Orange County Sheriff's Office. In 2025, and we're just in April, we received 488 from Orlando Police Department and 1,614 from the Sheriff's Office. So as you can see, the majority of non-arrest cases that we receive come from the Orange County Sheriff's Office. And I'll tell you that that is about policy. So if you look at the Orange County Sheriff's Office policies with when to send cases to the state attorney's office, you will see that in that policy, under number 4, file charges with the state attorney's office, specifically in C, it says that if the incident involves a non-view misdemeanor and the charge is not a warrantless exception, the deputy shall means you must, file the case with the state attorney's office, not arrest or try to obtain an arrest warrant. So in the Orange County Sheriff's Policy Manual, they direct their deputies to file cases instead of seeking an arrest warrant or making an arrest. So this in and of itself can account for why you see that there's a dramatic difference between the number of cases that we receive for the Sheriff's Office as opposed to the number of cases that we receive from the Orlando Police Department. Now, similarly, if we look over at the policy that comes out of the Orlando arrest here today is that the judges are not signing for misdemeanor warrants. Well, Orlando Police Department has put that in their policy. It says that the Orange County judges will not sign a misdemeanor-only arrest warrant unless there is evidence that the defendant is unlikely to appear for a summons. If submitting a misdemeanor-only warrant, officers shall fully document in the warrant affidavit all evidence demonstrating a defendant is unlikely to appear on a summons. The evidence may include all efforts to locate the defendant, facts showing the defendant's a flight risk, a record of failing to appear for court, and any transient or unknown resident status. Here, the Orlando Police Department has outlined in their policy what you need to do in order to get a valid arrest warrant. And this is why we're seeing a lower number from the Orlando Police Department than we're seeing from the Orange County Sheriff's Office. There's policies and procedures that have to be followed, and these policies come from the law. So when they're saying that we can't get warrants, well, they can get warrants, but they have to provide the information that is required by the statute in order to receive those warrants. During my first administration.
And so we are continuing to follow up on that policy and the things that are happening at the state level and here in Orange and Osceola counties as well. Fox 35's Marie Edinger are going to have the latest details on that coming up in a few minutes on Fox 35 News. We do want to play a little bit for you of a news conference this afternoon from the crew of the Blue Origin flight, the 6 women who got a suborbital view of Earth and the moon from more than 60 miles up in the air today. In this exchange here, you're going to see crew members answering questions from reporters back here on Earth after landing after that 10-minute flight.
Congratulations to all of you. Welcome home. Gail, I'm going to direct this question to you, but anybody else can answer it. So after all the anxiety and preparation and prayer and meditation and training, what about this flight surprised you, and would you do it again?
What surprised me? I got a little lightheaded, Mark, when I was coming back. I thought, am I going to pass out from the 0 Gs? I actually thought about that. Then I thought, I can't, and I didn't. So that surprised me. But the thing is, I can't stress enough how well prepared we were. The training, we did it over and over and over again. We prepared for if there's a fire, if everything doesn't go according to plan. Which, by the way, you guys should know, Blue Origin has backup after backup after backup after backup. So I was very grateful for that. But we were so well trained and so well prepared. I wasn't really surprised by anything. We were all expecting the noises that we heard. We were all expecting a little bit of a vibration when the parachutes deployed and they yanked you back up and brought you back down. So we were very, very, very well prepared. So that wasn't what got to me. What got to me was how calm I felt, because I really was, I can't stress enough, guys, how terrified I was. But it was so calming to me, and it was so peaceful. And you know, the guy that drove me this morning, his name is Tony. I fell in love with Tony. He's from Montana. He's 32 years old. And he said, it's so great that you get to do this. I said, really? You think it's great? He goes, no, it's great. I would do it, and if I could trade places with you right now, I would trade places with you right now. And I said, but what about the danger? Do you think about the danger? He said, the biscuit is worth the risk it. The biscuit is worth the risk it. And I went, well, okay, that's one way to look at it. I said, let me write that down, Tony, the biscuit is worth the risk it. And then he said, but you don't understand. He's done 4 missions. This was his 4th. He said, we've never had a mission like this. The energy is different. Everybody is so happy for you guys. And I said, why do you think that is? He said, because it's very empowering. He's 32. And I said, do you have a daughter? Is that why? He goes, nope, I don't have any children. I'm living the bachelor life and enjoying it. But he said, it feels so empowering, and it has a specific reason that I find myself empowered by what you all are doing. Says this 32-year-old young white guy to me. Yeah. And I was so blown away by that, his sincerity of that, and what this meant to him. So I think, Mark, I'm taken aback by the number of people that have been encouraged and inspired by what we're doing. You know, I've heard people say, oh, okay, you guys are going up on an 11-minute ride, which, by the way, I resent the word ride. There was nothing about a ride. This is a frickin' flight. This is a frickin' journey. That was not a ride. It was not a joy ride. Yes, please applaud for that. And so I'm blown away by the people that are really, we've had some cranky Yankees and haters. I've heard you. I'm not going to let you steal our joy. But most people are really excited and cheering us on and realize what this mission means to young women, young girls, and boys too.
Historic moment.
Yes.
Historic moment. The first ever, very rarely in your life do you get to be a part of something for the first time. The first ever all-female crew. And I know you guys are so appreciative of all the incredible women who have come by.
History today with that Blue Origin flight as they are discussing there. And really interesting, I think, to hear Gayle King talk about overcoming those fears and kind of some of the thought process while she was in the capsule coming back down to Earth. Well, that's going to do it for us here on Fox 35 News Plus. We appreciate you joining us. I'm going to go ahead and send you out to Studio A for the start of Fox 35 News at 5. You see John and Luann getting things ready for that newscast, which begins in about a minute here on Fox Local. One of the stories I want to let you know coming up, Fox 35's Esther Bauer going to have the latest on a Brevard County teacher who was facing charges in connection with a house party, that big house party, 100-plus kids or something, investigators say were there. Now back in the classroom. Esther's going to have the latest details on that, why that is, what the situation is, the response from the school district as well. All of that coming up on Fox 35 News at 5. So keep it right here on Fox Local. For that newscast, which begins in just a few seconds now. And we hope you join us again at 11 a.m., 2 p.m., and 4 p.m. tomorrow for more Fox 35 News Plus and Florida Live. Have a great rest of your Monday.